Hi, everyone. This is Jackie Cooper with the GBA, the Government Blockchain Association talk show, and I would like to welcome everyone to this talk show. Remember to like and subscribe to the GBA YouTube as well as all the other socials that include LinkedIn and Twitter and a lot of other places that we are sharing out. I also would like to share that I'm also the co-chair of the legal working group, and the Government Blockchain Association has a ton of working groups that you can also become a part of to contribute internationally, in person as well as remotely. So definitely all the links will be in the blog below, so that way you can become an active participant or even just an observer of the other content and the workshops and the events. And again, I don't want to forget that depending upon when you hear this, the GBA will always have in-person events going on, and there's a major event happening this year, October 30th, actually at the Capitol in Washington, D.C., and there'll be a link for that. So definitely it's a important event to be at, so you can meet a lot of the policymakers along with blockchain entrepreneurs and a slew of other people from around the world. But today I have a very special guest on, and I've met Bryant through the Government Blockchain Association, and we're working on a variety of projects, which I'm really excited to be speaking about. And the first project that we're going to be talking about, because we're going to be doing a series of conversations, so definitely head over to the next one so you can learn more about some of the projects he's working on. But the first one that we're going to be talking about is Web3 certification, and really what you need to know, because this tech world is changing so fast. And the vocabulary is changing so fast, not just in the compliance side, but in the tech world. So we're going to have a really in-depth conversation on how you can stay current. Bryant, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jackie. Thank you for inviting me on. It's a pleasure. And you mentioned GBA, and let me just start by saying that I've been a long-time GBA member. I first met Gerard, who is the executive director of GBA, by doing a podcast, but not dissimilar to this, way back in 2018, probably early 2018. And just for full disclosure, I was at one point the chairman of the board for GBA. And currently I am its training director of training for the GBA. But that's my GBA aspect and perspective.
So tell us more about how you met Gerard and became involved with the GBA.
So, like I said, I started out by running a podcast, and the podcast I was interviewing people in blockchain, and it was an area where I had spent a lot of time wanting to grow not only my network but also to help people understand this emerging technology. And again, this was back in when I first started in 2017. It was absolutely an emerging technology. While there was probably only 2,000 or 3,000 blockchain developers at the time globally, there was this emergence of organizations to help explain to industry and to government what blockchain technology was. And of course, at that time, we fully believed that the technology was fully mature. But we've subsequently learned that we're now evolving. So the amazing thing about blockchain technology is that it has been iterating at a very rapid pace. And so while you can think of Bitcoin as a generation one blockchain, it's easily could be argued that we're in a generation four blockchains with a number of the different protocols. They're fast, they're efficient. They can run enterprise grade applications. So, this isn't a great time. And of course, Gerard, when he was starting it, he was really focused on government, the role of government in blockchain, and he's been a stalwart to not only building and developing blockchain technology awareness within government, but as you pointed out, the upcoming conference at the U.S. Capitol Auditorium is going to be phenomenal. what's really nice is this is a repeat of the same conference that was ran at the U.S. Capitol back in 2020. But
Wow.
this is a great opportunity, for people to learn more about GBA, more about blockchain, and of course, as you pointed out, networking with amazing number of policymakers, entrepreneurs, regulators. It's all going to be there.
So today we're going to be talking about Web3 certification. And
Yeah.
so, what is a Web3 certification board?
Well, let me give you a little background as to why I created the Web3 certification board. Well, let me first answer what that is. So, the Web3 certification board is an independent credentialing body dedicated to establishing professional standards and certifications for blockchain, Web3, AI, fintech, and other emerging technologies. Web3 Certification Board creates and validates industry aligned exams and courses for upskill in the modern workforce. Now, how this came about and why I started to do this is in a lot of the various roles that I've been as part of my career. I had originally started out in the capital markets, training in the capital markets, and that's what really got me into blockchain. Was a client, and it was Morgan Stanley, who asked me, "Do you know anything about blockchain and Bitcoin?" Back in 2015, and so in January of 2016, we delivered our first blockchain course as part of that. But really, what it came down to is that um, no one knew or understood what blockchain technology was. And then when I took on a role as the director of training for a blockchain protocol and then a director of training for a European crypto exchange, I could see that the biggest problem that exists out there from an employer standpoint was that there was no way for anyone to really understand or to validate people's skills. When I was at the blockchain protocol, they were trying to hire developers, blockchain developers. And of course, many of the resumes that they got were saying like, oh yes, I've done all this blockchain work. And in reality, they weren't, they hadn't. So it just became so apparent that there needed to be a certifying body for people with these particular skill sets. And of course, the foundational aspect of it was blockchain. But we have all these emerging technologies that are weaving themselves together. So we have, of course, AI, which is, exploded in the last 2.5 years. We have, of course, fintech. We have things like Web3, which is kind of a catch-all name for so many of these emerging technologies, quantum it being another one of them. And what needed to be done is to establish a certification board. And a certification board has to be independent from the industry. It's to say here are some standards, and now what we can do. And our specific focus is not on enterprise certifications; it's on individual certifications. Now, those individuals can, of course, work within enterprises, but ours is a personal certification body.
So, I'm thinking through all this, and I know when I started 10 years ago, my vocabulary was like in kindergarten, and it takes so long to catch up. So I can definitely see the value and the importance of having something like this, and also being able to trust the quality of the content. So, again, you've covered a little bit, but what makes the Web3 certification board certification so unique? And how does one actually obtain those certifications? Again, what's the process?
Well, let's first look around what a certification board does. So a certification board does what they try to do is they build certifications, and that's what the W3CB is doing. Is we're building certifications around real world competencies. These are peer reviewed by experts and mapped to the evolving industry needs. So unlike some vendor-driven certifications, the Web3 Certification Board is a technology agnostic and focused on foundational skills, not just tools. So all of our exams follow a rigorous psychometric standards and are eligible for ISO 17024 accreditation. So that's what makes them unique is that we're independent, we're technology agnostic, And we have done the hard work and still are in the process of the hard work of obtaining the accreditation for ISO 17024 accreditation for all of our certifications.
So there are 2 points that you made that I really want to highlight and point out. Because in being in this community, doing talk shows across various niches, you're right. There are some really incredible companies that are doing trainings, but they are specific to their area, and so they also have a gentle bias to have you use their product or service because of the trainings that they're showing you how and what to use. With the trainings that you're talking about, they are neutral, and like you also said, they're providing the skill knowledge base, so that way you can critically think about what you're learning across a variety of areas to see the connections or the disconnects. And then the other thing that you mentioned that I want you to kind of expand a little bit more is the ISO. What is that for those that might not know, and why is that so unique from this perspective? Because it's a very credible type of um, certification. So explain a little bit more for those that might not know.
Well, so let's first of all focus on the first part of your question, and that is who are these certifications designed for? One of the things that I learned when I was in my roles is that there's a lot of focus on the developers, the people that those technologically deep thinkers and with unique skill sets. What I came away from that though is that most of the people who work in Web3 and blockchain industries are not developers. So what's the first part of that is our certifications actually serve this wide spectrum of learners. It's not only professionals transitioning into blockchain and Web3, it includes the developers and compliance officers and business strategists. It includes students at university programs. It includes employers looking to validate internal training. It includes government and academic institutions integrating modern credentials into their programs. But the second part of what you're asking about is more about ISO. So ISO is the International Standards Organization, and they are an international standards organization that works with individual single accrediting bodies in every country. And in the United States, that organization is ANSI, the American National Standards Institute. And surprisingly, they're based here in Washington, D.C. So the reason why we work with them is that by adhering to this very strict standard, and again, the ISO standard that we focus on is 17024, which is a personal accrediting standard, that what we have to do then is we have to then work with them to create certifications that match to that standard. And that allows for people then to go to organizations, and it allows for organizations to see individuals who have these particular certifications to realize that they do have already the skill sets necessary. It was like when I was saying, when I was at the blockchain protocol, there were so many developers that they were hiring that said that they had blockchain technology, but a little cursory interview part of that process revealed that they had very limited or no experience on it. By creating certifications for this, it allows for the individuals to say and shout to the world, I do have these experiences. And it allows for then organizations to go, you know what, I can actually now feel confident, because not only are these certifications, specifically stating that a person has these particular skill sets, but we know that the certifications adhere to a very high standard. As you pointed out, there are various technology companies that issue their own certifications, and that might work when you're an organization like Microsoft or Cisco or Red Hat or Oracle, because they're very, very, very specific. But when you're talking about the general knowledge, And when you're trying to hire somebody, and you may not have already selected, a blockchain protocol that you're working with, or you may not uh, be fully articulating what you're trying to do your with this technology, it then becomes important for you to realize that there are people who do this. And of course, the other side of it is this, and this blew me away when I was the director of the blockchain protocol, and that was 75% of the people who worked at the organization, and this was about a 700-person organization, um, didn't know what blockchain was. And these were all the non-technical people. And it was just fascinating to understand that there were people working in for a company about a very specific technology, and they had no clue what it did. And so that's why we don't just focus on the technology sides. We really focus on the professional side, so that individuals can then articulate to employers, this is what I have a skill set in. And so I can then offer you not only a more rapid onboarding of my particular skills, but I can also now make a difference faster for the organization as it pursues, the applications or processes that they're willing to sell into the marketplace.
Yeah, no, I think it's really important. And I know that you explained who the certifications are designed for. What certifications do you offer? Does the W3CB offer? I know that we there's a variety of classes, and there are more that are coming on board. But what do you offer?
Well, we have two tracks on that. One, I would say, is our technical track. So we have a certification called a Blockchain Plus. We have a Developer Plus. We have a Smart Contract Plus. These are the names of those certifications that are all very, very technical. But we also have things that are for non-technical people, and that's like the Web3 Plus. They get the ability to validate and understand what Web3 technology is, including what blockchain is, what fintech is, what AI is. Web3 technology includes a kind of a variety, a handful of different technologies. It includes the metaverse, augmented reality. These are all things. IoT. This is all part of that Web3 certification universe. I mean, the Web3 universe, and we're trying to provide those certifications. But we also focus then in on like fintech, on DeFi. We have an AI system certifications, or DAOs. I mean, one of the unique things that has occurred is that blockchain technology is now allowed for a new construct in terms of organization.
Mhm.
It's not this fully centralized top-down type approach. It's called a DAO, which is a distributed autonomous organization. And as these new forms of governance and organizations arise, people need to understand them. And once they do, they have then the ability to contribute to not only to the development of the underlying technology, but to the operations of what these institutions are now offering. But we have, while I've mentioned about 5 different certifications, we have a roadmap that will build out to 20 different sort of certifications. And again, they're based on 2 tracks. One is a highly technical track, and the other is a non-technical track.
Yes, I know we've talked about the need for professional development in a variety of professions, from my profession, law, to accounting, to finance. So these are really important for those that are learning their trade, as well as trying to support their clients. So what about the exams? How are the exams developed and validated? Because obviously you go through the class and you get all this knowledge, and then you're going to take an exam, and that will lead to a certification. So how is that created?
So ISO has established a process. You can call it a psychometrically sound process. And the way that it works is this, is that for each exam, we try to create what's called a job task analysis, or JTA. And the reason why we do that is we first have to identify where these technologies or where the knowledge of these technologies would be relevant to jobs, specific jobs. With emerging technologies, that's more of a challenge, simply because, I mean, it's Dell Technologies actually issued a very interesting statement, and that is that 85% of all jobs by 2030 have not yet been created. So when we think of it from that perspective, and you can see that there's just the massive impact of emerging technologies. I mean, AI is probably the most disruptive part of that. The question is then how do you apply these technologies to an exam? And of course, the first part of again is building this job task analysis. The second part of that then is to create what's referred to as blueprinting. And so once we've identified what the job is and where technologies can be implemented into that job role, then what we have to do is we have to then go about creating a blueprint for validating that type of knowledge. And we do that in conjunction with subject matter experts, which not only look at our JTAs and our blueprinting, but they look at it in terms of writing these job descriptions in conjunction with us and then reviewing them. So this is a collaborative effort. And of course, once we've gotten through that third step, we're looking at then beta testing. We have to create examinations and then test them. And of course, part of that testing is to make sure that we remove bias, we remove items that might identify a person's gender or where they come from geographically. What we try to do is to make that as neutral as possible. But then once we've done that, we don't stop. There's always an ongoing performance analysis. And this really ensures that exams are fair, defensible, and aligned with, the real jobs that exist in the world.
So, if someone wanted to get a certification after they take the exam, is it just a process of getting their certification? How does that happen?
So the process of getting it is kind of, there are two tracks. One, of course, is to work with some of our training providers, and of course, the GBA is one of our training providers. They have access to a catalog of training programs. That catalog of training programs can walk a person through the knowledge that is necessary for that. Once they complete those particular programs, and generally they're not a single program; they're a combination of programs. So generally about 3 or 4 classes, each of them somewhere in the range of 7 to 10 hours long in terms of instruction. And so what happens with that is they can go through these classes, and then once they've completed those classes, they can submit to take a proctored exam. And that proctored exam is the exam that the W3CB issues, and that's based on the exam construction that we have just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So from that standpoint, that's how they can go about it, is take those courses, then take the examination, the proctored examination, to achieve the accreditation. The second way, and this is an ISO requirement, and that is we have to issue a book, a manual. So we've been creating these books and manuals that would provide that same individual with full access to all the knowledge that would be covered in that accreditation exam. Then people can buy that and then go through that. It allows for people to use different modalities of learning. So there are some people reading is perfectly fine. Others like to have that lecture component. Others like to have the experiential aspect of going through and working with simulators. So how to get those certifications? There's a couple of different paths to get there. But the most important one is that once they get to that point, they can then pay for the exam, take the exam, and assuming that they pass, then they can get that accreditation.
No, that's phenomenal. It's thinking of different ways, of different. You like you said, there's the different learning modalities, and you're covering all of them. So I think you covered this, but is the W3CB accredited?
We are in the process of getting that. The process of getting an ISO accreditation is about an 18-month process.
Wow.
And it's very expensive. It's about $75,000 per accreditation.
Wow, that's
Uh, yeah, I mean it's not an easy thing, but the beautiful thing about it is that part of the accreditation process that we have to go through requires us to start issuing certifications. And so those people who take the certification prior to the ultimate accreditation by ISO are all grandfathered in. So the beautiful thing about it is that we go through the process. You know, we're trying to make this as to facilitate it to be as quick as possible, but it is anything but quick. You know, it's not a 1 week or a 1 month or even you know, a half year type of process. This is a very lengthy process, and so that's you know that's where we are on that for sure.
No, no, I'm excited. I'm excited to see you know, you ending up with this certification. Obviously, you know, you talked about different training partners. You
Yeah.
know, working with W3CB, and the Government Blockchain Association is one of them, along with the two entities that I've started, the Maryland Blockchain Association and Blockchain Legal Institute, just because of the fact that, you know, all three of our groups are focused on educating the blockchain technology community. And we might be offering similar but maybe different parts of the platform that you have access to. But how do training partners work with W3CB?
Well, there's a number of different ways that they can. So, of course, there's authorized training partners, which are really institutional or for-profit organizations that we work with. They license the material and they then train, or they can take our standards and then create programs themselves that train to the specific standards of the W3CB. We also work with academic institutions. We also work with authorized reseller partners who resell the training programs that are offered by authorized training providers. But importantly, and that is, and you pointed this out, is industry associations. You know, one of the things that we have always felt is that industry needs to have a uniform and standard that they deliver to all of their members that allows for them to actually grow and meet a particular standard. And of course, that's why the W3CB, again, we're an independent accrediting body. We work with our industry partners, and it allows for these partners to not only gain access to the curricula, the exams and instructor guides, but marketing collateral and revenue sharing models that allow for them to grow their particular marketplace. But as an industry association, I think that we are currently working with almost 12 of the state blockchain groups around the United States. There's about 20 of them. So we have about 60% of them that we're working with in conjunction to provide training to their members, those industry association members.
No, I'm excited about this. So what's the long-term vision of W3CB?
So really our long-term vision is to become the gold standard for emerging tech certifications by bridging the gap between innovation and employability. You know, my vision is a world where professional credentials in blockchain and AI are as recognizable and as respected as those in traditional IT or finance.
I agree with you. Any other last minute thoughts that you'd like to share?
No, it's been a pleasure. I mean, this is you know a a passion of mine.
Mhm.
I think that by doing this, what we're doing is elevating the entire marketplace for these emerging technologies and blockchain. Uh, Certifications are one of the very first signs that there's maturity in these technologies, and so by working in conjunction with associations and training companies and academia, what we're trying to do is to make sure that that these emerging technologies like blockchain, not only are they anchored into the opportunities that they can provide to the world, but also that what we're doing is we're building standards, which is not dissimilar to one of the things that you put here on the back of the screen, and that is the GBA's BMM. So the BMM is the blockchain maturity model. GBA has gone out of its way to create a very sophisticated and very advanced certification model for organizations to have their technology, their specific implementation of the technology, blockchain specifically, for different industry sectors. And so, not only is the W3CB working on the individual side, but we're working in conjunction with the GBA to help institutions get not only their people accredited and certified, but also their products certified and accredited.
Yeah. So, again, I truly appreciate what you're doing. I know how difficult it is to keep certifications current and also relevant to develop the skill set across so many different areas, being both in the education and law side. And also, I appreciate what you're doing because for the Government Blockchain Association, we have a lot of new members that come in who are exploring what blockchain and the technologies are. And then we also have those within the industry who also are knowledgeable in their specific area, but might want to learn about a different area. And so this is a way that they can take a class and also understand the technology while they're continuing with their own professional project and development. And then from the other projects that I've started, both the Maryland Blockchain Association as well as the Blockchain Legal Institute, I know that we're offering these classes as part of the learning base and knowledge base, because I know that it's really important that those that are stepping into from Web 2 to Web 3, or even those who are in Web 3, continue our educational learning. So, I know that the projects and the programs that you're developing are quality. So, for those that are listening, I definitely, you have 3 different, because this is going to be shared on social, you have 3 different locations that you can actually take advantage of these contents by becoming a member of GBA or, reaching out. So, so again, thank you, Bryant, for this.
Thank you.
It's a really important need because there is so much going on in our community. So I'm glad you're the one tackling it.
Thank you very much.
So for everyone, definitely like and subscribe to all of the socials for the Government Blockchain Association, and stay tuned for the next conversation in the queue, because again, there's a lot going on in our community and I don't want you to miss anything. So everyone, thank you and have a great day. Bye.